Prog masters Cynic are back with their brand new album, Ascension Codes. Is it a banger? Let's find out. Welcome back to the heaviest show in the universe. My name is Kane Irvine, and if you love in-depth metal reviews, discussion, and theories about the greatest GOAT genre in the history of the entire universe, then go down below, sauce me one of these bad boys, smash that subscribe button for me so you never ever miss a video. Without further ado, let's get into the review. So Cynic is a progressive metal band from Florida, and they formed around 1987-1988. Their first album, Focus, came out in 1993 and is largely considered one of the greatest pieces of metal released in the 90s. It was super influential on the technical death metal genre and the prog metal genre as a whole. But while that album didn't come out until 1993, guitarist Paul Masvidal and drummer Sean Reiner got their chops started with death on their album Human in 1991, learning the ways of the metal scene from the master himself in Miami, Florida. And now, to be quite honest, after their album Focus, I haven't kept up with their other three releases. I've never really bothered to dive into them. And I know that they kind of left more of the technical death metal stuff behind as they went further on. This is their first album since Focus that I'm actually sitting down and listening to front to back. Now, unfortunately, on this album, it is only Paul Masvidal from the remaining members of the original lineup of Focus. Unfortunately, Sean Reiner and Sean Malone, the bassist, both passed away in 2020. Paul Masvidal has dedicated this album to his fallen brothers. Let's get into the music. So let me start off by saying this album is full of incredible ingenuity and amazing musicianship. The sound is incredibly epic and the production quality is clean and spotless at every turn. All throughout this album, the sound of it is making you feel like you are ascending to another world. You're ascending to the culture, the world of the aliens. And I probably completely butchered what Paul Masvidal wanted to get across with this album, but that's the way it feels to me. Every instrument is carefully and delicately layered one after the other, and they all enhance each other's sound. It's really beautiful to listen to. The music is just incredibly cohesive, and every subtle little influence is fantastic, from the super bluesy type slides and solos on Mythical Serpents to their obvious tech death origins on In a Multiverse where atoms sing. The sound of Paul's guitar is so stunningly perfect at times, it makes you want to cry. His phrasing and instrumentation is a true sign of genius, and I only wish that maybe he would come back into death metal at some point and write some death metal chops here and there. And my favorite part about this album is that it wasn't overly shreddy. You see, prog tends to be just musical masturbation for guitarists, but this album was not like that at all. This is beautiful phrasing, beautiful cohesive music with drums and guitars and bass and vocals and electronics and keyboards all playing a role and all feeding off of each other. This album takes a lot of risks when it comes to its type of music, and that's what prog is all about. And it's also super esoteric, and that's where we need to get into the quote unquote bad part of the music. So for real, there really isn't a bad part about this album. This is not a bad album in any way, shape, or form. But the thing is that this is an album for musicians. Like I said, it's incredibly esoteric, and that can lead to some of the music being a little boring for the average person to listen to. Myself included. I felt that there were so many parts of this album that I just didn't understand as someone who isn't a high-level musician. And I mean, that a lot of that is the point of prog. That's still a detriment to the album, as opposed to something like the Black Album where everyone can ingest it and enjoy it and It is fantastic for everyone and anyone who listens to it. And these guys, really at this point, I wouldn't even call them a metal band. They have metal here and there, like I mentioned, especially you can hear some of the tech death influences that they started off with really shining in bits and pieces here and there. But I would just say they're more of a progressive band at this point. That being said, adding up each individual score of each individual song and dividing by the number of songs on the album, we come to a final score of 8.3 out of 10, which on the heaviest show in the universe rating scale is an S tier banger. I really enjoyed this album. It was incredibly beautiful, but at times it was too esoteric and it got a little boring for my taste, and I would assume for the regular person's taste. This is an album for higher level musicians, and there is nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. What did you think of Cynic's new album, Ascension Codes? I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it down below. If you haven't yet, go down below, sauce me one of these bad boys for that YouTube algorithm, smash that subscribe button if you are not subscribed yet, and I will see you on the next episode of the heaviest show in the universe. Long live metal.